Okay, time is 5 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. All the Board of Adjustment directors are present except Vice Chair Pam Clark, who will be joining us via telephone this evening. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Woodbury County Board of Adjustment. Today's date is April 6, 2026, and the time is 5 p.m. Tonight's meeting will be audio taped and minutes will be prepared. In respect to all parties, we ask that those present turn off cell phones or set them to vibrate. Those in attendance are asked to legibly complete the attendance sheet up on the front table. I'd like to take a moment to review the procedures that the board will follow tonight. First, the board will handle the normal housekeeping agenda items. Then for each application on the agenda, I will open the public hearing on the item. The planning and zoning staff will then present the staff report, including the staff recommendation. Any letters or other communication received from the public prior to the hearing will be entered into the record. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present his or her case and respond to the staff report. Next, we'll hear comments from the public. If you'd like to speak either in support of or against the application, you must come up to the microphones. Please state your name and address for the record. All interested parties shall be heard, but repetitious comments should be avoided. Repetitious or irrelevant comments may be ruled out of order by the chair. I ask that you remain respectful and courteous with your comments at all times. After all public comments have been made, the staff and applicant may make a closing statement. The hearing shall then be closed by motion and vote, and thereafter no further comments from the staff, public, or applicant may be heard unless asked for by the board. The board shall then deliberate the case and may ask questions of the applicant, the staff, or any party offering testimony. However, such questions do not reopen the hearing for additional comments from the public unless so requested or approved by the board. The board will then formulate and vote on a motion. The motion will typically either grant or deny the requested application. Any board member who has an ex parte communication to place in the record of this meeting should do so prior to the beginning of deliberation of the respective agenda item. Any person desiring to appeal the board's decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision with the Planning and Zoning Office. So with that, I will move down to item 3. Do we have any public comments on matters not on our agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move down to item 4. I need approval of our previous meeting's minutes from our March 2nd meeting. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our March 2nd meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom to approve the minutes from March 2nd, seconded by Larry. All those in any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Okay, that motion carries.
5-0, yes.
Yep, 5-0 with Pam on the phone. Okay, I'll move down to item 5. The public hearing is now open on this conditional use permit application. And Mr. Priestley, would you please read the staff report?
Yes, tonight's public hearing is for the conditional use permit application for a temporary borrow site for extraction and supply of earth materials for the I-29 235th Street South Bridge Interchange project, which includes approximately 400,000 cubic yards of material with operations tentatively scheduled from spring 2026 through 27 and subject to changes throughout the review process. This involves the properties identified as parcel number 8747072000001 and also the same number with the exception of ending in 2, located at or near 2257 Port Neal Road, Sergeant Bluff. Again, this meeting of the Woodbury County Board of Adjustment under Section 335 of Iowa Code is to consider this application submitted by Peterson Contractors, the applicant, on behalf of the Kimmel Family Farms, Kent W. Ivner Living Trust, and Maxey Family Farms, LLC. Again, it requests for a temporary borrow site to support the named project. The final volume, duration, and operation details are subject to modification conditions as determined through the review process on these respective parcels. consisting of the one ending in 01 has about 38.95 acres, 8.95 acres. And one ending in 02 has about 21.27 acres, totaling 60.22. This property is located in the general industrial zoning district, which is eligible for this review and consideration. It's in the Liberty Township, 8747, Section 7 of the northeast quarter. And again, it's important to point out that the Woodbury County Zoning Commission reviewed this proposal at their meeting on March 23rd, 2026. The chair signed a statement that includes their recommendation for approval, and they do offer their recommendation of approval, and they do offer some conditions or recommendations that could coincide with the project through their respective letter. And with that said, the applicants also appear to be here with us this evening.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Priestley. With that, do we have anyone here that would like to speak on behalf or represent this conditional use permit? So if so, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Jamie Thomas with PCI. Well, we're out of Rhinebeck and we're the one requesting. And I just want to thank Daniel for his help and the county engineer for their support. And I can answer any questions anyone has. If anyone has any.
I guess, could you just kind of give us a brief general overview of what's going to take place?
Just gonna haul dirt for the interchange. Really, is all we're doing with this one. Yeah, just to build the ramps and get ready for the bridge and the new road and everything. So.
I guess a question I have, just out of curiosity, will this be where you're taking dirt from? Will this substantially lower the elevation of the ground in question, or how will this be put back to?
We're gonna dig a pond.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I figured that's what
Yeah.
it would be. So
Yeah.
it'd be permanently a pond and will
Yeah.
not be able to put back into row crop.
Yeah,
production or-
they're gonna still farm the area around the pond, but the borrow pit's designed to be a pond.
Okay. Anyone else from the board have any questions at this time?
Thank you.
I guess if we have any questions, we'll call you
Oh,
back.
okay,
Yep,
thank you.
thank you. Sorry to bring you back up, but I do have one additional question. We always typically put timelines, for expiration on these conditional use projects. I guess what timeline do you guys really see this beginning and ending at?
Most of the dirt will get hauled this year, but the job won't be completely done till the end of next year, the end of 2027.
Okay. So December of 31st, 2027, you would expect to be completely done?
Yeah.
and-
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure by then,
okay,
unless something goes haywire, but the plan would be to be done by then, and we think we'll be able to meet that pretty easily.
okay. Anyone else have any questions for him while he's up here? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
Okay. Any of you directors on the board have any further comments for this? It looks like a fairly straightforward conditional use permit. Zoning, the zoning commission did lay out, 9 additional things for us to look at. Conditions for this. I think those are all reasonable. They're pretty standard with what we've done in the past.
They actually put 28.
Yeah, and that's why I asked him, they do have an expiration date of December 31st, 2028, which would be an additional year beyond what, he thought they would be done at. I guess that's the only thing we decide if we put that extra year out there or if we go with the timeline he suggested.
Like all the borrowing pits that we've looked over, I don't see this one be any different. You answered one question that I had. I was curious about the grade, if that was gonna be brought back, but are we putting fish in the pond or? As far as the extended time past when they think they might be completed, I don't see any reason why there couldn't be an extension, just because things happen, Mother Nature, but weather, things like that. So
So are you directors good with a December 31st, 2028 timeline as suggested
I don't
by
have a problem with
zoning?
that. Not at all.
Mr. Priestley, do we have anybody on the phone for comments other than Pam?
Just Pam.
Okay, thought I'd check. I guess with that, I believe we could close the public hearing on this. You guys would concur then? So if that's the case, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this conditional use permit.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion by Larry to close the public hearing. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Been seconded by Doyle. Is there any further discussion on closing the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do you have a vote on that, Pam? Did we lose her?
She's on.
Are you in favor of closing the public hearing on this item, Pam?
Off of mute. Can,
Yeah, we can hear you now. Are you in favor of closing the public hearing? She's muted herself again.
It might be on mute, Pam.
clicking that, and yes, can you hear me now?
Okay,
Yes.
yep.
Okay,
Okay, so that's,
motion passes 5-0.
yep, 5-0. Okay.
Okay.
I guess at this time, I'll open it up between ourselves to decide, what we do here for a motion. So if anybody has a suggested motion in mind, feel free to speak up.
And I will point you to, on page 13 of your packet, the zoning commission's motion, kind of where they adopted that, could be of some assistance.
So we could recommend approval of the conditional use permit
You would be approving, so,
Yep.
yeah,
with the following conditions.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I missed it in the conditions, but the only thing I would maybe add is the control of noxious weeds or weeds. I don't know if that was caught in any of the other 9 criteria. Does anyone think that's an issue? Is that something to add?
I
I
don't
think that
think-
would be something to add.
Okay. Okay, so Pam thinks that's something to add. What do you guys think? I mean, or is that over redundant? You're good with that, Doyle?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, if the board desires what the zoning commission recommended with their layout, you can add to that, of course,
Okay.
as part of your motions.
Control of primary noxious weeds. You guys good with that phrase for like a,
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Everything else, as far as the conditions go, the owners of the borrowing pit, they've received all those. That, the ones that we have in front of us.
So,
All of the conditions that I have here in front of me, the owner of the borrowing pit has received them already. The guidelines for the borrowing pit.
General guidelines.
Yes. But they've already received them, I guess, is my question. Okay,
They reviewed those potentials as far as being considered for your approval.
I think
Okay.
he's asking if the applicant would have received it, but technically
Yeah,
not.
they, through the packet, through the information.
They would have,
that was provided.
okay.
Okay.
Right. That was, yeah, that was my question.
Well, I believe, there is go ahead, Pam, sorry.
Well, I was just going to move that we recommend approval of this conditional use permit, subject to the 9 conditions that were listed in the packet. And I don't have to read all those, do I?
If they're referenced in the packet, you can make a reference to what was in the zoning commission's letter. And if you entertain what Chairman Hare said about the weeds, you could add that to it.
Yes. I would refer to the conditions listed in the packet, approved by the zoning commission, and add the one clause about noxious weed control be added to that list.
Okay, so Pam has made a motion to approve the conditional use permit as presented, subject to the conditions the zoning board has recommended to us on page 13 and 14 of our packet. 10, okay. Subject to the conditions on page 10 and 11 of our packet, along with item 10 being added which would be control of primary noxious weeds.
I would second that motion.
Okay, Doyle has seconded that. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can you hear us, Pam? Do you have a vote on that?
I said aye. I don't know if you could hear me or not.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, all opposed, same sign? Okay, that motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And for the record, we'll be in touch on the next steps as they prepare the permit.
Oh,
This week.
oh, okay, so it'll come sometime this week.
Yeah.
Or is it tomorrow that we
I'll
could start?
be reaching out to you.
Oh,
The
okay.
chair, we have to go through a process of getting
Sure.
the paperwork in terms of reflecting tonight. So in the
Sure.
next few days, I'll let you know the progress on that.
Okay.
It's a matter of logistics now.
So wait a little bit till we get that before we can start.
Yeah, once they sign it, he signs it, it'll become effective.
Perfect. And Dolph, the owners, we did get that packet you spoke about with the conditions, and then the noxious weeds. That's not gonna be a problem either, so. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will move down to our next action item. The public hearing is now open on this, and Mr. Priestley, would you please read the staff report?
Yes, this is a public hearing for the consideration of a variance application from Robert Sweat on behalf of property owners Robert Sweat and Deborah Sweat, who seek relief to measure the front yard setback from the front lot line, right-of-way line along 250th Street on a legal non-conforming lot instead of the requirements of a flag lot for the purposes of building a single-family dwelling house, an accessory building on the parcel identified as number 8746-173-00004 at 1911 250th Street in Say Lake, Iowa, 51052. The Board of Adjustment will hold this public hearing under Section 335 of Iowa Code to consider this variance. This property is a legal non-conforming lot and a 1.18 acre lot excluding the rights of way. It's a Greenwich Township, section or 8746, section 17, southwest quarter of the southwest quarter. This is in the agricultural estates zoning district. It's situated on a corner lot, and it does lie within the special flood hazard area, the Zone A of the floodplain. The property owners would need to meet all the requirements of flood proofing and elevation for this property. The applicants seek to construct a single-family dwelling residence and accessory structure building a shed on the property. The request is from section 4.035 of the Woodbury County zoning ordinance, which states that for flag lots, the required front yard setback shall be measured from the point back from where the street lot line and the lot width meets the minimum lot width requirement, which you have to have 200 feet along the road. And of course, section 3.04 of the zoning ordinance for agricultural estates, which is our zoning district dimensional standards, which requires a minimum lot area of 2 acres. The lot is below the 2-acre minimum. However, as referenced, this is considered legal nonconforming under 4.023, which provides that in any zoning district where dwellings are permitted, single-family residences may be erected on legal nonconforming lot of record, provided that no additional nonconformity is created. The variance is requested to allow measurement of the front yard setback from the 250th Street right-of-way rather than from the Dallas Avenue right-of-way to facilitate the construction as referenced. Now, at this time, of course, the packet had some items. I do make a request. There's a couple items that are up here in front of the zoning commission that I ask that be included in the record. One is a statement for Gary Walters, which we should have had in the packet, but it said, "Dear Dan, thank you for submitting the variance application. My only comment would be relative to the planned driveway access lane and to the new proposed home garage. The driveway does cross a lateral of the Garrettson drainage district. If there are any plans to relocate the driveway, I would simply suggest that the applicant be aware of the governance restrictions on the drainage district." This is from Gary Walters, who's actually with the Farmers Drainage District, and he referenced being a co-owner of land in Section 18 of Grange. And the county engineer previously had a memo that was included in the record, but it was updated today with newfound information. An April 6th update that basically indicates that the landowners worked with the secondary roads to identify a driveway location that meets the current entrance requirements. An entrance permit has been submitted for the proposed driveway on the 250th Street. The existing driveway on Dallas Avenue will be removed at the time the new entrance of 250th Street is constructed. The engineer also provided an attached driveway application that's included in the record. And of course, they have to follow all the policies of secondary roads. Any future modifications, the entrance will require submission of a new entrance permit and must meet all secondary road standards in effect at the time of the application, including the respective site distance. And again, this is a review provided for zoning purposes only and does not constitute final approval of the permit from their respective department as well. So we ask that these two items be received into the record.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Priestley. Pam, I'm gonna make a motion that we receive this new material. So do I have a second on the motion to receive the new material?
I'll second
I
that.
second it.
Okay, Larry seconded that. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of receiving the new material, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, that carries 5-0.
Okay, and I need to make it clear the property owners are here tonight with us as well to support their applications. So
Okay, thank you, Mr. Priestley. With that, would someone like to speak on behalf of this variance?
My name is Robert Sweat, and I currently live at 509 East Street in Sergeant Bluff. So we purchased this land last year to put in a single-family home for my wife and I and my forever home. So we got with the Dallas is a dirt road. And 250th obviously is paved, so we prefer to come off of 250th into our driveway instead of going through, could be muddy or dirt road any time in the wintertime. So that's why we proposed the variance for the setback. It's 169 feet wide in front. I know that's Dan was saying it was supposed to be 200, but that's what we're asking for the setback off of 250th.
I guess maybe I missed this, but or is this something you're planning on starting construction on this year?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
The way I understood it earlier, there was a problem with the access to 250th, but you have since worked that out with secondary roads and the county engineer.
Correct.
And found some kind of a middle ground where it works.
Well, they're requiring 125 feet from the edge of Dallas Road to the start of the driveway. And that's basically, that's where it was in the past. So I don't have a problem with that.
Because in the past, though, with our material, the county had removed it, I believe, like 6 years ago because of public safety concerns, but that has been remediated now. I guess that might be a question for the engineer too, but.
Yeah, and I asked Laura Severson, and she said that she couldn't say that what the safety issue was. I asked Mike, what's his name, Anderson. He said that the previous owner requested the driveway to be moved. So.
Okay, our engineer is here, so I'm sure we'll have some questions for her. So does anybody else have any questions for him at the time?
I just want to say there's probably more activity on that gravel road than there is the highway. Because
There
a
is.
lot of people from Bronson and stuff going to
Yeah.
Sloan and stuff, take that gravel. And
Correct,
so I
correct.
understand where that would make a difference.
The access on 250th.
Right, right. That would be a better access, I think.
I was just curious, I was actually out there today looking at it. Where's the driveway in relation to the green address sign out there on 250th Street?
It's within, the address is probably 10 feet from the start of the driveway.
So the driveway would be south of that.
East, the driveway would be east of the marker, the address marker.
Okay, so direction wise, 250th, what direction does that run?
That's east and west,
Well, that's east and west.
yes.
If I didn't know any better, I thought that was north and south.
No, that's
East
east
and
and
west,
west,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Priestley does have a map he pulled up behind us, Larry, if that give you a little idea there. It's color there, whereas we got black and white in the packet.
Now, the building will be to the north of where the house is then, or do you know yet?
Where there is a house and there's a whole layout of everything. So it's going to be a house, a garage and my shop. So the house is the one in an angle and that's facing 250th Street. And then towards the right of that is the garage. And then that garage will come all the way out to the driveway to 250th Street.
Back, excuse me, the back portion of your home then is facing north?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And then your current access off of Dallas Avenue will be eradicated if you go with the 250th Street entrance.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else have any further questions for him at this time?
I do not.
Okay. I think we might be finished for the moment.
Okay.
So I guess I would ask that our county engineer, if she could come up here with a couple questions for her.
Hello.
Thank you, Laura. I guess this looked like a fairly straight variance application other than the driveway debacle. So what can you tell us on that now? It sounds like things have been straightened out.
Right, yep. So the foreman met with the landowner out there and talked about where it used to be that the previous owner had said that he preferred the other driveway for safety purposes, and that's where that comes from. So if they believe that they're gonna be, have a good, safe access there, then that's fine with us as long as it meets all of our requirements, which it does, so.
Okay, so to clear that up, this was not a public safety concern at the time the driveway was taken out. It was just a requested concern of the landowner at the time.
That's the clarification I got
Okay.
later, yes.
Because one of our biggest criteria for granting a variance is that it's not adverse to public
Yeah,
safety. And so
thank you
we
so
have to
much.
take that pretty seriously. So does anyone else have any questions for our engineer while she's up here? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Priestley, did planning and zoning have any further comments on this that we need to be aware of?
My concern always is the layout, the specifications, the whole merits of this variance is technically to ask to measure the setbacks off of that front line. Typically, where we find the 200 feet is along Dallas Avenue, and as I originally talked to Robert, my expectations from the zoning chair would be to measure off of the Dallas and use that as the frontage based on where the driveway is at the time. But their desire, of course, is to position the house in this manner, using this setback and using that as the road. And this also being addressed off of 250th Street and the kind of the previous historical nature, you can see the position that they've taken and also wanting a hard surface being the front driveway versus the gravel. My top concern, which I've conveyed to Robert, is the fact that it is in a floodplain. It's in a Zone A approximate floodplain, and they are going to be expected through the floodplain development procedures to elevate this over the floodplain 1 foot above the base elevation level. And what that entails is knowing what the natural ground is by a certified Iowa surveyor and being able to bring enough fill to bring the natural ground up above 1 foot, the BFE. And the BFE is a different number than the natural ground. And so that's how you ultimately determine bringing the house up that extra foot. And also the structure for a living dwelling such as a house, the elevation would have to extend 18 feet beyond the walls of the house. So that means that the house has to be flood proofed up and extended out, which we've made clear to the applicant that ultimately if this variance is approved, then they have to file a floodplain development permit and a building permit and see to it that these structures do get elevated and flood proofed. They will have to, once the structures are complete, have a surveyor measure out what the bottom floor, the lowest floor is, and that lowest floor has to be elevated at that 1 foot mark above the BFE. So from the staff perspective, the concern of course, is floodplain, but these are separate issues as far as the board granting them the ability to have the setback situation, meaning the flag lot. It sounds strange we're talking flag lot, but we're talking flag lot because that's where we find the level of frontage across. Where the lot expands out is where we're allowed to measure the setback back from, as far as finding the 75 feet. And that's what they're looking for, is simply 75 feet from the point that you get to 200 where the lot expands out from the road. So those would be my comments.
So this necessarily is not uncharacteristic with what we've done in the past, other than the floodplain.
The floodplain adds a different element to it, of course. Again, floodplains are a major challenge in their own. A few people should always be concerned and cognizant about the ramifications and all the other things beyond just simply building. There's things beyond the county, flood insurance, banking, all of those things that it's also imperative to meet those requirements as a whole, I mean, the county enforces it by having them file the appropriate permits and providing the elevation certificate at the end of the day, because the surveyor has to get that document back to us by way of the property owner. So it's a risky endeavor to go into floodplain development for sure.
So if we were to approve this with the condition that they, comply with the floodplain regulations, which that's a must. We have to do that.
It's imperative that any and all regulations are met, whether it be the well and the septic or whether it be the flood proofing, et cetera. Floodplain changes the nature of pretty much everything out there. Siouxland District Health may have to make determinations as well, working with the property owners. So kind of a catch-all items that you've mentioned in the past that shall comply with any and all regulations at the local level, because this will naturally be regulated by the floodplain requirements.
So if we were to theoretically, if there was a motion to approve this with the floodplain regulations, that would act as a blanket for everything you have referenced.
It'd be fair to reference the fact that those requirements have to be met, because they have to be met. I mean, regardless if somebody were to, if this setback issue was not part of the Board of Adjustment variance process, they would still have to elevate, floodproof the property.
Okay, can we reference the section 5.03 floodplain regulations, or do we need to enumerate?
It's fair to make reference to follow all zoning regulations, not limited to floodplain, and other guidelines would be very reasonable. Including the secondary roads requirements too, the expectation to follow through with there. So I would say any and all county regulations that govern it as a catch-all would be helpful. Still public hearing.
We are a public hearing, still open. Yep. Does anyone else on the board have any further questions for the applicant or the county engineer?
The only other question that I have, and Laura, this would be a question for you. I was just going through some paperwork here, and I saw this letter. It was to Dan, Mr. Priestley. It just says relocating the driveway back to 250th Street would reintroduce safety concerns. I'm just, I guess, for my own knowledge, or maybe the board's knowledge, what were those safety concerns, and what changed that they're no longer safety concerns, I guess? That was just was an obvious question that jumped out at me.
I might be able, she can comment further on that, Larry, but I think with the new amended letter, that shows that the previous landowner is the one that had that driveway concern, I guess. And so that was not based on public safety at the county level. So with this new letter that Laura did give us, she has given the okay with along with secondary roads for a driveway to be on 250th now. So I guess if you have a further comment.
As I told the landowner, I wasn't here, obviously, when that happened, when the driveways were moved. And so I'm just going by hearsay, right? And so the hearsay of why it was moved was the landowner had safety concerns about where it was. I don't know. I don't know what that was for safety concerns, but it does meet our minimum. And you can decide to build things to the minimum, or you can give yourself a little bit more leeway. That's up to you. But at some point we have to put a number somewhere. So it does meet, sorry, what I want to say is the driveway does meet, the new location does meet the minimum requirements.
So from your perspective, there's no safety concerns as far as where the driveway is and in relation to the intersection of Dallas?
Right, because that's
Yeah.
where we allow all driveways to be put, but,
Okay.
you know, try not to put them too close to intersections is that purpose. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
thank you.
That's all I have. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Any further questions from any of the directors for the public or the applicants? Okay, do we have any other comments from the public on this? Anyone on the phone other than Pam? Pam, do you have any questions for anyone before we close the public hearing?
No, I don't.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, Pam has made a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Larry. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Yeah, that motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over amongst ourselves to discuss what we want to do here on this variance. Mr. Priestley, just for clarification, the zoning along with staff could recommend approval here, subject to the floodplain conditions.
Well, yeah, and I want to make it clear that the memo update was made today. And any of the staff has tremendous respect for all the departments and all the information that we glean in from everybody and the public. And the update on the engineer's memo definitely plays a big role in the staff recommendation and analysis. And generally, again, my top concern, this is more so about measuring setbacks in terms of locating structures. So mine much more is regardless of where the setback is, the floodplain issues, of course, from the staff level, play a big role. But as far as the driveway scenario being much more cleared up, that makes it a bit more fitting as far as being able to alleviate that setback. But again, it would be the expectation that they follow all county regulations as far as governing the permitting of the house and shed. So yeah, like where I had said, any building permit is subject to full compliance with section 5.03 floodplain regulations. That's reasonable. And again, we have further clarification now on the driveway access.
Okay. So if we were to entertain a potential motion, we would want to word it in the regards of the applicant must follow all county zoning regulations regarding the permitting of the house and shed, not limited to section 5.03 of the floodplain.
And all other county regulations. Yeah.
Does anyone on the board have any further questions or comments?
I do not have any.
Okay. So I guess at this time, I would entertain if somebody has a motion on this.
I would go ahead and make the motion to approve the variance application in adherence to all the guidelines that we need to follow. Mr. Priestley, I don't know where in the paperwork here where you would like to have that read off, or is it just acknowledged?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to reference kind of, it'd be a modified version of top of page 68, but the building permit and flood, it should say building permit and floodplain permit regulations should be followed. And we should keep in mind the regulations of the section 5.03, the floodplain regulations, and any other applicable county regulation for the construction of the house and the shed.
So Larry, I think I could summarize what you're saying. I'm just gonna ask you if this is okay, if this is what you were getting to. So you made a motion to approve the variance request, subject to the applicant must follow all county zoning regulations regarding permitting of the house and shed, not limited to section 5.03 of the floodplain. Is that a fair assessment of the motion you were?
I would say that's spot on.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Priestley? Okay. So Larry has made that motion. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
That's been seconded by Doyle. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pam, did you have a motion on this?
I said aye. I don't know why. I think it's because I say it at the same time everybody else does.
Okay, well, we got that. Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries 5-0.
We'll be in touch this week.
Okay, I'm going to move down to our next item of business. The public hearing is now open on this variance application. And Mr. Priestley, would you please read the staff report on this?
Okay, public hearing, it's consideration of another variance application of Tracy Camrat and Jason Camrat for an accessory building shed to be built closer to the front lot line, right-of-way line, and in front of the principal structure house in the agricultural estate zoning district on parcel number 8647-123-00007 at 3007 Cass Avenue in Say Lakes, Iowa. The Woodbury County Board of Adjustments holding this hearing under Iowa Code Section 335 to consider this application, which is on a 5.881 acre lot and situated at the address referenced to construct the accessory building structure measuring approximately 40 by 30 by 12 foot 4 inches with possible adjustments to dimension during and throughout the review process. To do so, this request consists of two provisions of relief request from the ordinance. First, they seek a variance from section 4.12.3 concerning accessory buildings, which prohibits such structures from being located closer to the front lot line than the front edge of the principal structure or twice the required front setback, whichever is shorter. Second, they request a reduction of the front yard setback mandated by section 3.04 of the AE zoning district, which requires a minimum of 75 feet from the front right-of-way line. The applicants propose placing the structure closer to the front line than the existing principal dwelling and establishing a front yard setback of 20 feet or even less. A substantial portion of the property lies within the special flood hazard area designated as the flood zone AE, which significantly constrains available buildable area on the property. This portion is actually in a kind of a government lot A, kind of called a Sand Hill Lake area, which is a kind of a flood plain area as far as the map. This lies east of Interstate 29 and west of Cass Avenue, approximately 2 miles south of Salix, 3 miles north of Sloan. And so the two kind of situational practical difficulties for them is trying to look at the nature of the lot, the floodplain scenario, and kind of the position where the existing house is. So the relief request is basically twofold under this scenario. And so the applicants are with us here this evening. And so that's what I have for now.
Okay, and then in our packet, Mr. Priestley, what page would we want to turn to get right to this?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot here, but we
Yeah,
have a pretty
it's
thick packet.
94.
94.
Okay, so I think the imagery, if we can get this up on the screen. You will see here that the teal line is where the right-of-way line is. And the yellow region is part of the floodplain. It's actually the 500-year floodplain, but it's regulated as a Zone X. So that's generally more ideal to locate in that than it would be in the Zone AE, which is the full floodplain. And this picture is well zoomed in, but the floodplain kind of follows a good portion of the lot, which could be construed as limiting placement with the goal of staying out of the floodplain. So that would be a big goal of the property owners, is to stay out of the floodplain, but position that. But you'll see the house up here at the north side is definitely closer within that setback. So it kind of throws off our traditional AE zoning of 75 foot back for the house, and then the shed back further than the front wall of the house. So in that kind of standpoint, it does put, different choices at play for how you could locate the respective shed. I will point out, as the packet kind of speaks for itself, the county engineer did, and I let Laura speak for it as far as the positioning. There's concerns about not using the traditional setback and building closer to the right of way, which is always, a fair question on looking at the whole layout of the big picture and everything. So with that said, I would suggest hearing from the property owners.
Okay, with that, thank you, Mr. Priestley. With that, I guess, is there someone here that would like to speak on behalf of this variance request?
Good evening. My name is Brian Mez. I'm actually with the contractor who wants to build this. My address is 1620 140th Street, Sioux City, Iowa. I see the drawing there, and when Tracy called in or applied, I think she put a 20-foot, which was kind of a guess. I kind of did the same thing here, if you'd like to see what I did.
Okay, we have a motion to receive new material.
Like to make the motion to receive.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Doyle. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
You need more, I
Believe we have enough here.
Okay, would you want? So the northwest southwest line, and as you know, it's hard to pinpoint an exact measurement using the beacon. I did the 40 north and south, and then I did the 30 towards the road. So that 40.45 line, that would be my proposed west wall of the building. And then going towards the road 30, which then from that point to the blue or your teal line would be 48. So approximately 50. I mean, we can make those round numbers. And then from that line to the center of the road is your 33-foot setback there. And like I said, we're willing to adjust this wherever you guys would need it in that yellow that accommodates you. As far as the snowdrift snowdrift worries, if you were to look at this site standing on the road, the grade of the road to the grade of this building, the grade of the building is probably 9 feet lower, would be my guess. Currently there's a horse trailer sitting where we want to put the pad, and the top of the horse trailer is about level with the road. And that would be, 40, 50 to 60 feet away from the road. So it would have to be a fairly tall and long drift. And also I'd like to recommend or make notice that
along the whole west blue area out in there is full of large trees, which I assume block a lot of that wind. I'm no engineer. Those are just my thoughts. But like I said, we would be willing to locate that almost anywhere in that yellow that you guys would allow us to. It'd be further south, whoever's doing that.
Yeah, I'm just.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Doing some reference points.
Gotcha, yep.
Again, Beacon is not a survey.
No, I understand that. Yep, no, I get it. It's the only tool we have.
So, Mr. Mez, where in this, in the yellow shaded area could this building be? I mean, could it be put in that whole strip anywhere? Down through there,
If
is
it's
there a,
you-
is there a property?
About
line?
where I have it marked would be about as furthest south we'd want to go. Just because you do start getting into some sucker trees, just a lot of thin trees and
So in other words, if we were to need to move it anywhere, you'd want to go closer to
to
the house.
Yes, please. Don't you agree? Yes. That's to the start of my building there. That's pretty much what they mow to. So it would create access to the north doors of the building. Yeah, there, you can see that barn that's currently there.
You would wanted to keep it south of that small shed that's there, is that right?
Yeah, just so we can have
There's
access to the small shed.
Between the house and the small shed or,
Not creative.
pardon?
Weather as well. You got a barn there and we got large trees. And if we moved it closer to that building, it would help keep it away from that road and further concerns of drifting.
For the record, you mind, since you're speaking on behalf of this at the public, could you give us your name and address?
Yes, Tracy Camrad at 3007 Cass Avenue, Salt Lake, Iowa.
Okay. Any further questions, Tom?
I will say that I had the opportunity to go out there today and just to add what Mr. Mez had said about if you look at the flood plain area in there, I mean, if I was a snowflake during a snowstorm, I think I'd have a hard time getting through there, meaning that there's enough brush, enough trees, large trees that would provide a windbreak. And I think just the building sitting down below the grade, as mentioned, it would have to be one hell of a snowstorm to come through there, even to create a drift up over the road. And that was from my perspective out there looking at it today.
I mean, I do have photographs if anyone would like to see one, but it's just on my phone.
How could we do that, Mr.
mean,
Priestley, if we wanted
I-
to see a photograph? Could we have to do a motion to receive something like that visually on a phone or how?
If there's additional information to provide and it's active in this meeting, we'd have to receive it.
Okay, I'm not sure how we could receive that. I don't think we could we, just a picture on a phone?
I mean, I can email it I don't know if you.
Hey, if you would email it over to me and display it, we could display it up on the screen and we'd have a record of it and you could vote on it to receive it.
Okay, I just have two, so it's not like it's a lot, but.
Do you have my address?
Nope, go ahead, please.
Just send it over to that.
Okay. Had to pick a short one, didn't you? I believe that's right. Okay. All right, we'll try that. I know it just says one unsent in outbox. Sitting in the outbox. There it must have went. Or down in the basement here.
Is your connection okay?
Yeah, it says it's sent. It's in my sent box.
Okay. Sometimes we got
Yeah.
filters too.
Yep. Oh, I already see what I did. I assumed it was .com. There you go. Sorry. Oh my goodness.
While we're waiting on that, does anyone
Yes.
on the board have any further questions before the picture? Or any more questions of the applicants?
Might want to ask questions, circle back if, give it some time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
Because email doesn't seem to be instant anymore.
No.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're in a basement here and it took me 3 tries to get it right. So
I guess, we're waiting. One of the questions that I do have is, and it's maybe an obvious one, is what is too close to the right of way? And I know we're still talking measurements here, but just to make sure that when we approve this, if we approve it, what is the distance from the right of way that, let's say the county engineer would be, comfortable with? As well as the building being built and out of the floodplain and being situated on the property where the owners, are happy where it's to be placed at. I think that's something we need to identify here tonight.
So maybe a question, we bring Laura up here quick.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind, Ms. Severs, if you could come up here. Okay, we do have a picture, do motion.
Yeah, if you want to,
Okay.
motion to receive that quick.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to receive the picture for Mr. Mez.
Two pictures.
Two
I'll make a
pictures.
motion to receive.
Okay, Doyle's made a motion to receive the 2 pictures from Mr. Mez. Do we have a second on that? Okay, that's been seconded by Tom. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pam, are you okay with us bringing in the new pictures? Okay.
Yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mez. Okay, we'll pause on the pictures for a moment. Okay,
Laura, the one question that I have, from your expertise, being a county engineer, what is a good distance, from the right of way for a building? In this case that we're talking about, it's sitting down lower below the grade of the road. I don't know, eyeballing it, I would have to guess it's, I don't know, would I be out of bounds if I said 8 or 9 feet? Somewhere around there. And when we look at the wetland areas or the floodplain there, and you look at all the mature trees, all of the, I'll just say, the different water grasses. I mean, there's a big slough keeping a lot of that wind and stuff from even coming up through there. And, but having said that, all having different opinions here. How far from the right of way would you feel comfortable with this building, given the opportunity that we have it, we have the opportunity to move it, place here and a place there. What would your recommendation be?
The way I take what you're saying, and maybe I'm taking it wrong, is that there's no snow ever on this road in this spot. And there is. And so anytime we put a building closer to that, wind and all that starts to change. And sometimes when you put buildings close to the road, you'll start to see drifts that happen. And I'm sure everyone behind every farm place, when you drive on, a county road, you'll see those areas or whatnot. So we're just always going to recommend that, if there doesn't have to be a variance, there doesn't have to be a variance, and that the buildings can have the proper setbacks.
So I guess having said this, and this is a good discussion, and I'm just going to bring this up because I am curious, if I was ag exempt and I didn't have to follow any of the zoning regulations and I had a building, I mean, I look at all the ag ground we have in Woodbury County. We have over 1,000 miles of roadway, I believe.
Yeah, 1,300.
How many buildings would you say wreak havoc to where we can't clear them because they're too close to the road and they have such a huge snowdrift that it impedes public safety and traffic and all that? I mean, we're able to work through all that, I guess is what I'm saying. But I respect your position and your knowledge. I mean, a building like this, would it be possible to build it down in there and really not have an adverse effect? I mean, yes, it does snow. We average, 35, 40 inches, I think, in Iowa a year. We had our first major snowstorm in November. That was about all we had this year. And over the last, 5 years, we've been in a drought condition. That doesn't mean that we couldn't have 5 very wet years and just have a hellacious snow. But I'm just curious how you feel. I mean, do we have enough space in here to build this building and move it either here or there to where you're comfortable?
It saddens me every single time we see ag buildings go up very close to the right-of-way line. Because those exact same people call us and complain. And you'll see that in that note that I sent to you guys, is that, people need to expect that when they build buildings close to our right-of-way, that it does affect snow, especially with our strong winds here in Northwest Iowa. And that don't plan on us being able to change our snow routes because you put a building close to the right-of-way line. That was the purpose of the comment. I'm not gonna advise anything outside of what is written on black and white paper. So, and that doesn't answer your question, and I apologize for that, but I'm one of those that I just like to follow the rules. I like people understand, the problems that it causes, secondary roads. I did love that DNR, had at least on the confinement type structures, they required the setback, and I feel like that has saved secondary roads a little bit. But I also think that's also going away. So, yeah, anytime those grain bins go right up against the right-of-way line, or, any type of, ag structure, it causes us problems. So I'm just going to say, for maintenance purposes, that, anytime we don't have to provide a variance. I'm not saying you shouldn't provide a variance, that's up to you guys. I won't recommend one way or another, but I would just say that it causes snow issues. And, anytime you can give a little bit of proper distance away for a vehicle that goes off the road, that's always, safety for those drivers. But yeah, I'm sorry that doesn't directly answer your question.
No, I appreciate the conversation and your answer. I guess from my perspective, having gone out there and looked at it, and I'm listening to everything, Laura, that you're saying, I think there's an opportunity here to put that building in there somewhere that would lessen your concerns, but at the same time, allow a resident in Woodbury County to put up a building. They are quite restricted here. But from my opinion, I think there's some movement here that we could, make everybody happy.
And I 100% respect what you guys decide to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not upset one way or another. I hope that that's how you understand my letters are, is I do the laser focus, only focused on what a secondary road engineer will say. Is we don't want them any closer than they have to be. Is that, do you understand then? Like, yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't or should allow, it's just, that's our perspective on it.
So to put you on the spot here a little bit, not to interrupt you, Larry,
No,
but,
I'm fine.
so for a non-ag building like this, what is the legal distance that this building is supposed to be from the county right away?
That's just
That,
your,
that reverts back to the zoning ordinance. There's a double measurement. The single family dwelling, principal structure, house has to be 75 feet back from the right of way. And any accessory building has to either match the exact front wall or be behind the structure. So the intent of zoning is to, with the agricultural estate zoning district, to kind of keep those areas as clear as possible. We also have a restriction that you can't put the shed in front of the house unless you're double the setback. So basically, we have mechanisms in there for zoning to facilitate a level of consistency across these districts. AE and AP are our two most predominant districts. One uses a 75-foot setback. The AE uses 75 because it's more of a condensed where you would have a little bit more housing in there. So they allow 25 feet closer. But the whole practical purpose is zoning is a mechanism to regulate that. Ag exempt is what it is. It's exempts farmers from the aspects of the zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinance can't be imposed in Iowa on a farmer or a farm operation, I should say, to utilize for cultivation of crops and animals and everything. So if a shed is facilitating the farm operation, it's built up close to the right of way. We do see that. We do see that in Woodbury County, and I've known from people talking all across the different disciplines and fields, and I can relate to what Laura said about, yes, it does exist out there, but it's not ideal when you're dealing with two sets of rules. And we really do deal with two sets of rules, and we have to be real clear on that to our property owners, that yes, farmers do have a different reason. So we have to explain that very clearly, but we try to have zoning coexist with that. And that can be a tough balance.
So we have twofold here, which is what the variance shows us. That we're looking at a building in front of the principal residence.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Mr. Mez will have to clarify if I'm wrong, but it looks like according to his measurements here, the edge of the building is in the neighborhood of maybe 49 feet from the right of way. Am I looking at your, yep.
Without a survey, you're gonna have to give yourself as much maximum room as possible. In fact, you might want to survey this or get those lines identified because of the ramifications of banking when it comes to the floodplain. If you touch that floodplain, then it's subject to all the elevation requirements. We could work with you on a floodplain development permit, but I know one of the key points of this variance request is to simply stay out of the floodplain. And it's ideal from a zoning perspective. Anytime you can stay out of the floodplain, that's a good thing. So but we're also dealing with the balance here on the integrity of our setback regulations and those expectations. But I will remind everybody too that the variance laws were adjusted in the last session of the legislature last year, where it took effect, I believe, July 1st, where there's much more emphasis on this process for the variance for practical difficulties. So now you're not looking at it through the economic hardship lens. You're looking at this as, can it meet that definition of a practical difficulty? So it kind of comes down to that level of interpretation. And if they can clearly show you anywhere within that yellow zone that's reasonable that it could be built, in a way that's inside and they can confirm and prove that they're in that yellow zone, that might be something that the board could look at. I looked into it, they asked for a specific number, 20 or closer. So the due process of notifying the neighbors and notifying the public and everything has been met. So if you do something that's lesser than that, that might be further away, you could do that. As far as like if you do the 20 or you do something closer, you have enough room to decide this based in that yellow region.
And like I said, I'm all for zoning because I know there's communities that have none, and it's I've seen the downfall of that. So I'm glad we do have zoning. The one thing I will mention too that isn't shown on this, Cass Avenue is a dead end, and there's one home to the south. Not that I want to hinder or hurt them, if you feel it does, but it's not a through road, so I don't know if it's highly travelable.
So looking at picture number 1, that would be going towards the dead end, and
Yes,
there's a one residence down there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then approximately where in these pictures would the shed be built? I see we have a horse trailer, so
It would
would it
stay
be
right
behind the horse trailer or?
Right at the rear of the trailer
Okay,
would be the north side of the building, proposed. Unless you tell us.
so it'd be at the end of the horse trailer and then working further south behind it.
Correct.
Okay.
On the building, the length of it, the highest length is
40.
Okay, and that's going north and south?
Yeah, it's kind of going parallel with the road.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, the sidewalls, the ceiling height is 12 feet. The peak height is 1810. So
So it looks like we have a 75-foot setback with potentially 48-ish unofficial feet is what they're saying we potentially are working with, although that's unofficial, unmeasured.
Mr. Priestley, you had mentioned that there was something that was passed most recently. I can't remember the word you used as far as hardship. Is that something that we could look at, but in the same spirit, understanding where the county engineer is coming from and just for the concern of the drifting, but then, I think a key point was raised here. We're on a dead end road. So it's not like it's a thoroughfare. I think that's a positive if we would approve the building. If it was a busy thoroughfare, heavy traffic, I think that would make it more difficult, but I just wanted to bring that point out again that, as mentioned, it is a dead end road. Only one other house is
one
to
dwelling.
the south.
Correct.
And I guess I would say this back to Laura being the engineer is, does that make any difference to you one way or the other if it was highly traveled versus a dead end road or not?
I can answer that for her. No.
Oh.
Am I right, Lauren? Yes, it's black and white. Like she's just doing her job. So. No, you're fine.
I really think this is the purpose of what the legislation was talking about, is this type of issue. We don't want a building into that floodplain. It's not like they have a shortage of property. They just need to utilize what property they can use. And I think this is the spirit that the legislature meant when they were talking about hardship, that we can make these variances in order to put something where it makes the most sense. And I think what they're offering here is logical. There's no reason we can't utilize the property in a little different way than what we normally would because of the unique characteristics of the property. It looks like everybody's trying to do everything they can
Correct.
to be reasonable.
Are you happy with this current location? Is there any reason if the building was moved north, would that be a deal breaker?
No, it would not. We will be willing to move it over forward.
And that may not be necessary. I was just wondering, but
Yeah, no, we're happy to build it anywhere in the yellow that you'll allow us, except way up close. to
We
the house.
like to stay closer towards the house, of course, not way out in the.
Yeah,
pasture. But we'll move over if you need it.
I guess what we would need though, I mean, to clarify location is if you gave us a measurement from something that we can pinpoint, center of the road, can that be surveyed, pinpointed, or the property setback or the lot line?
The zoning itself is always regulated from where that lot line is. So when this was noticed and they used the phrasing 20 or closer, that was kind of a line in the sand from the right of way line. And the goal was to give them enough flexibility through this process so the board could actually make some level of flexible determination at this meeting. So anything that you come up with, if they approve it, we would need a site plan that clearly demonstrates your structure relative to the lot line and not in the floodplain. And I should say the zone AE there. So if you have something that you can clearly show us and demonstrate that you are not breaching the blue zone, that would be the expectation of staff on a normal day. You're not even within this process is to have the ideal location that we can grant you the permit. Otherwise, it does trigger the floodplain permit and all the other regulations the minute we get in there. So if it's decided upon to approve this variance, we're going to need to have some type of language that makes it clear that they do not go into the zone AE. They could build within that, it's actually a zone X. That yellow is technically considered a zone X. And what that means is it's the 500-year floodplain, but it's not regulated under the elevation requirements of the 100-year. So in other words, they could simply build their building because it's in a zone X. So if we get assurances that it's built in that zone X of the yellow, then that would be essential to this process.
Is there a minimum elevation in order to be in that zone X?
Minimum to how they determine that?
Yeah.
When they shot the LiDAR, they have some metric that decided what the flow of the floodplain is. And so I will tell you this lot is very unique because of how you watch it flow the road and you watch it flow that ridge, that when they shot it on the LiDAR, their metric put quite a bit. I would like to go back and look at what the previous map did, whether this introduced them further into the 500-year. But this here makes you a little bit suspicious at times too when folks go out and they do letter of map amendments. Because the true answer to all this is get a surveyor and see what the surveyor says, what the elevation is compared to the base flood elevation is. If folks luck out that the elevation is higher than the BFE, they submit the paperwork to FEMA and they can have a footprint actually taken out of the floodplain. So that's a good thing there. But with this scenario, the yellow is still recognized as the zone X. The big thing about the 500-year floodplain is it's for regular everyday uses, sheds or even dwellings, et cetera, it's acceptable to build in it. But if you have a high populated institution like a hospital, a house of worship, a school, et cetera, you are going to be elevating to the 500-year floodplain. So that's why that's there. That's why that's serious. But the way that they regulate it is they treat this still as a zone X. The vast majority of the county that's not in the floodplain is the zone X. We still see it on the beacon reports that the clear area is zone X. It's regulated exactly beyond those other structures in the same way as a building permit. So if we could somehow, some way get assurances that it's in that yellow under a certain level, and that's why the notice was written in that way, 20 or lower, giving you the ability to tell them where to put it relative to that right-of-way line. So, and I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yes, I was just wanting to clarify that we had something to measure off of to ensure that we aren't anywhere near the blue. That's kind of what I want.
Because unofficially, it looks like we have 48-ish or somewhere in that vicinity at the moment.
Yeah, unofficially.
Now, when you're on flat land, I have no idea what elevation is. It all looks flat to me.
Yeah.
I come from the hills, so it's just flat as far as I'm concerned. It may behoove you to have that checked just for your own purposes,
To utilize more.
just to make sure that you're, because let's face it, when the water comes up, it's going to be close to this. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that before where you live. I mean, you're close to a floodplain, so it may be worth it to you to do the survey or spend the extra money now to make sure that the elevation of where you're going is where you want to be. I just put that out there that, I mean, these buildings aren't cheap.
No.
And the surveyors aren't cheap either, but
No.
it's, it might not be a bad idea to look into that. To make sure that your elevation is where you want it so that you don't have problems down the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. That you're eligible for the permit cleanly in the yellow zone, but like what Doyle is saying there is the assurance of knowing where it's at. That is so essential. I know we can talk about the seriousness of a flood and where the water ultimately rises to, but we gotta have a level of assurance that you're staying away from that blue zone too. So having a surveyor look at the data and having them mark where that edge of that blue is would be really ideal to give you the zone between the lot line and that area, so you know clearly to stay in there. Because ultimately, we're gonna need a site plan. It basically says you're gonna be this far from the lot line and you're gonna be this far from the floodplain. So in a way, treat the lot line similar to the line of the floodplain, so that
Yes.
you know how far away it is from
And
that point.
And that was another reason I went closer to the lot line, to stay as far as possible away from that blue.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the rationale for going to 20, was to, without a doubt, stay
Make
away
sure
from
you're further away from it.
Yeah,
Yep.
to attempt to try to without a doubt.
If we go 20 from the lot line, I'm confident without a surveyor that we would not be.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Mez, for the applicants? Anyone on the phone? Pam, do you have any comments or questions for the applicants?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I've got a question for Dan. So when you say we're needing a site plan, how detailed are we looking for them to be?
The county's site plans are pretty much drawn relative to existing structures and existing property lines and marking the assets on the properties, such as the wells and the septics. They've never been too sophisticated. Basically, our predecessors in the office, we inherited a real basic, even on grid paper kind of style site plan that you are swearing to it as far as your distances and everything that you ultimately present to the county. And so we have to go off of ultimately the expertise of what is presented. But ideally, we need enough information to make the call that it's not in the floodplain. And to me, that's the purpose of this variance, is to stay out of the floodplain. So I think they're already showing they don't want to be in the floodplain. So the question is what is that distance? What is presented? So a site plan that includes the data where the flood markings are. Again, Beacon is not a survey. It's a nice representation for informational purposes. But we don't know if the floodplain is 20 more feet this way 20 more feet that way on the basis of beacon. And the true answer to that is a surveyor. They're the true route on knowing whether something is, in or not in ultimately. And the closer you build, I mean, that way, the more doubt there is and vice versa. So, yeah, I think, the expertise of a surveyor would definitely be helpful, but.
What's and I don't know this answer, what's the timeline of a surveyor?
Of them calculating it or,
Getting the results back to us or pinpointing or
yeah,
giving you a map?
I couldn't really speak for the industry. It just depends on which one ultimately somebody goes to.
And
And
I don't know if it's a month or a year. I have no idea.
yeah,
Well, you should be under a month, I would think. This shouldn't be complicated.
Just don't know their timelines. That, I guess that's kind of why I'm asking for that 20 feet from the property line, because we know we know we can locate the property line or even center of road. And if you'll approve 20, then I mean, I would like to present a map, a site map like everyone else does. But and it's strictly for time. I don't know if I want to. I know like the VFE that takes months and months and months and months, and I just don't know what a surveyor would do. I mean, we'll definitely check it out. If it's something that can be done in a fair process, but I mean, like if we are approved to do this, I'd like to get it going before fall. I don't know what the surveyor is gonna do. That's just my request, I guess, or hope.
yeah, it depends. I mean, I've heard of them going out and, putting the stake in the
Yeah.
ground and,
I'll
just showing
definitely
you
make
where
a
the.
call. I mean, Scott, Earnhardt, Bill's who I would check with.
Yeah, you just kind of want to check with the industry and
Yeah.
let them know the scenario.
Well, it's not like they gotta find pins and stuff. They have to just find elevation.
Well, is this an elevation one or a GPS one?
This is them considering the data as far as the floodplain. Many of them offer elevation services as far as calculating the natural ground, running it through the BFE. But if they go shoot and they grab the elevation, they should be able to reason out for you where that flood elevation changes. This is a zone AE. It's not a zone A, which means there's likely already published data.
Okay.
So that's to your advantage. And AE usually has a carried BFE on a map. So the surveyor would very well be ahead of the game as far as what that elevation is. If it was an A, like you said, there could be a month or more wait.
Yeah, that's just what I don't want to get here.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's quite a bit that is not in the yellow. And that's where I want to be, as close as the lot line as possible. So there's a good chance we won't even be in the yellow.
Say that again?
There's a good chance we won't even be in the yellow. If we,
Oh,
If you
okay,
win
I
it.
see what you're saying.
The spot.
Are you-
no.
Now, are you
Do you
are
see?
you referencing the blue line as putting the building right up to that? Because I guess that's the right of way line, isn't it? Or is that are we looking at the lot line there? And
This line here is your right of way line, the teal.
Yep. Okay, that's what I thought.
Which
So I
would
guess,
be-
can
And
you
then-
use your measurement? How far is the right of way line to the yellow? Down south, further.
Yeah, right.
there.
In here?
Yeah,
At the corner of that, no, it'd be,
That almost puts it right in front of your other building though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
safe there.
we want it back further.
so if they did the 20, they would start here and go into the yellow.
yeah, you get to start at 20 from that line. So we would.
And, and you would have to be 10 feet off that other structure too.
Correct.
Yep, so what we're looking at is allowing you to build the building, within the 20 feet from that, I guess that turquoise looking line now. Okay.
The question for Dan is if we would agree to these conditions, now if the county engineer, if she would object to that, would we still be able to go through with that or?
Yeah, I think Laura, it looks like Laura had stepped out, but she had kind of made the statement that she's coming from her perspective on it, but ultimately the Board of Adjustments in its own sphere. Laura, as much as we put a lot of weight in everything that the county engineer says, she delivers information like many of all the other stakeholders, and it's up to the board to evaluate whether if, you know, you stand strong on what she says from that perspective, or you're looking at it through that practical difficulty lens too, that the state had tasked the board. So there's lots of, you know, different perspectives that we try to get those from the commenters that we put in the packet. So she's one of the many commenters, but she holds a lot of weight, of course, when it comes to the road system. But at the same time, the Board of Adjustment is its own, you know, county unit for making these kinds of decisions as well.
Predominantly in this area, most of the drifting occurs from the northwest, and it looks to me like the building would do more blockage than it would hindrance. That's just my opinion.
From the way I'm sitting and looking at it, I don't think there's any, you know, I think this is definitely a spot for a variance where I don't have any problem with, you know, putting a building here, especially considering it's a low traveled road, dead end road besides. It's just, you know, we have to decide, are we gonna make this subject to a survey, receipt of a site plan? I guess we gotta decide if we put conditions on it, but I don't think there's any problem with approving it. So, does anyone have any more further questions for the applicants, or Doyle, do you have a comment on that?
I don't have any more questions for the applicants. I think you're absolutely right. This is what the legislature intended. I think I do think we need more data on exactly where this can go. So, you know, I think this is where we use the 30 days.
Well, technically that's for conditional use. The variance actually has a 10-day.
Oh, a 10-day.
Yeah, because a variance is a whole different.
I mean, I can tell you right now, I mean, without a surveyor, that tree to the south of that barn is there still to this day. If I go between that tree and the lot line, I have plenty of room for a 30 wide building in there.
Oh, yeah. We stepped it out.
So, I mean, it doesn't have to be difficult. I can pinpoint where that building is going to be in the yellow and not in the blue. Because I'm going to be to the east of that tree, which is close to center of yellow.
We stepped it out today and there's a lot more than 30 feet.
Would that hinder your ability to use the building like you would want to, though, as far as entrance of pulling equipment in or out of it, or vehicles,
Will
or?
it hinder it? No.
So you could still build there and it
Yes.
wouldn't hinder your building use. So I guess Doyle, on what you're referring to, and maybe this would be something we discuss amongst ourselves,
Yeah.
but you know, what do we require, if anything, you know, for them to build this? You know, do we require a receipt of a site plan before signed approval, or?
A site plan is.
You would have to have
standard.
that anyway to get.
Yeah.
A site plan is standard practice. So
Yeah.
one way to maybe look at it or approach it is a phrase in there, no construction within the zone AE, period.
Which
So
is
then-
blue.
Which is the blue.
Okay.
So if you stipulate that you're not going into the floodplain, that would be a big part of the condition. So that puts the burden on them to have the site plan as far as putting it in the respective area. And tightening up to the 20, if that's a route to go closer to the road. There is some common sense about going closer to the road and pulling away from it. But the other side of the coin is these maps, as wonderful as they attempt to be, they're not perfect. And so if a different map comes out or something, let's just say 2 years come by and all of a sudden now the building is appearing on Beacon and the building is now sitting there in the blue, that could even be problematic there for the property owner as well. as far as mapping. And we get calls at different times, you know, from banks or somebody taking out a loan where you put money on it. And property owners have explored the Loma situation or different things. This, in the long run, selling a property, they go back and they look at was it permitted under the floodplain guidelines and things of that nature. So this is really as much about protecting the property owners and making the property owners aware of that as far as the regulation as well. But it does make sense, the closer you build to the right of way, you're in the yellow zone. But we just don't know if there's a variance of 5 feet or 10 feet, or if it's perfect. We've seen some even parcel lines that look very strange out there. And that's why we mentioned surveyors at different times. So a surveyor could potentially, when a surveyor puts a subdivision plat up, they have to get that BFE number, which I'm not including that as part of this. But they get that BFE number and they have to disclose that there is floodplain out there on the property. If anything, it's over 5 acres or so. So we know that there's these 2 zones here. The yellow is fine, but if you even clip 5 feet into a structure, if the corner of a building clips the floodplain, the regulatory is for the whole building. And so that's kind of what the point is.
Correct.
To the point where public comment is,
That's what I was going to ask. Do you guys have any further questions, or does the applicants have any further comments for us?
I think we're good.
Okay. If
Thank
you guys don't have any further questions for them, and then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this variance request.
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, Doyle's made a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Larry. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries. Public hearing is closed. I'll open it up to the directors here and we can deliberate this.
So if I understand this correctly, we have a 10-day window to grant this variance based off of conditions being met.
Yeah, I believe I have that in the packet. If we go to page, let's see here. Page 97. A new practice is to put the regulations in the packet. Let's see, additional. You'll see right here where it says Board of Adjustment action, it says decision within 10 days after the public hearing, Board of Adjustment shall approve of conditions or limitations or deny the requested variance. So the way the county's set up on our 30-day, the conditional use is far better as far as facilitating this. There's a lot of ramifications for using that 10-day. So it's probably more ideal to try to make the best use out of something that's reasonable for the applicant as well as the board as far as a condition. And I think we've got a couple things to consider here. If you are to grant the variance, what that distance would be directly from the right-of-way line. You'd want to define it. If you want to go with the 20, you would define it. And then one of the other conditions would be that it stays directly out of the agriculture, or excuse me, it's the same lettering. AE is the approximate for the floodplain, the AE. So some level of condition or stipulation would be reasonable on the variance that they stay out of the floodplain. Now, with that said, they still would have to do a building permit through staff. And doing the building permit through staff, they could submit a site plan and I can actually put the expectation even with the building permit that they get the surveyor, or if we want to go that route as far as the positioning on there. Ideally, I'd like to see a site plan that basically reflects this yellow grid or this showing the positioning on the property. They need to ultimately be comfortable with it because they're the ones swearing to it on the permit ultimately. So that positioning is on them to get that in the right spot. So if they tell the county that we're 20 feet off, that's where the county's going to expect the structure to be. Any doubt on the location of the floodplain, that puts that burden ultimately on them to locate that, understand that, and present that in a way that's fair to them, that once the structure's complete, they're confident that it's within that yellow zone. Now, with that said, it would be reasonable for them to call somebody up and get a stake out on where that line is, for their own, piece of going through the process. But I think it would be fair as far as the variance to, say that it's, you grant it up to a certain position, as far as the distance, and, they stay out of the AE floodplain. Those are the two big stipulations of being out of it. And then the expectation would be to turn over to staff a site plan that reflects it not in the floodplain.
I think that we could go ahead if we put those stipulations in there. I think we could go ahead and make a decision on this tonight.
I know where they're coming. I mean, I understand the survey side of things. I know where they're coming from, a little bit worried about that. I know what it's like now to have a building built on time, and that's very frustrating, or built in a timely manner. I guess we just decide, what regulations we put on this. If we say, okay, you build the building 20 feet from the county right of way line and out of the floodplain. So if we put those two
Yeah.
stipulations on it, that would work. We wouldn't necessarily have to say you got to have it surveyed.
That's where the rubber meets the road of
Yep.
the regulatory, not in the floodplain, and the number that you give them. And then the pressure's on as far as making sure it's not there, just to cleanly say that. So they would just have to meet those, two requirements.
So then, knowing that, what do you guys think for?
Well, I don't want to dance in somebody's checkbook or anything, but I honestly think for everybody involved, the surveyor is probably the long-term, the cheaper route. It's just less risk.
But we don't have anything to do with the surveyor. I mean, that's not part of our decision making on this thing. Won't that come? I mean, we can decide one way or the other if we're going to allow it. But
well-
doesn't, as Dan said, that surveying, we would put it on them that, they could go ahead and get it surveyed for their own good.
I guess I can simplify it with really one phrase, or a basic phrase. Surveyors do site plans. You can get a surveyor to do the site plans. So you could put a stipulation on that the surveyor prepares the site plan relative to the floodplain. We've had them done before, where they basically draw the lines and, look at what the county requirements are. They show the floodplain, they put it on there. It's
Well, the thing that I'm looking at, if we get this wrong and comes and we build building, that surveyor is gonna look so stinking cheap, it's not even funny. Forever, I mean, like I say, I don't want to spend your money and I don't want to make those decisions, but if we get this wrong, that surveyor will be so, what?
The whole, everything from the dam on down to the flood, anything along that.
Yeah, but the rules that regulate this are, if you're over by 5 feet, and we're guessing off of something that just, I don't believe is that accurate.
Well, they changed those maps how many different times, and it costs a lot of money to change those maps on a federal government level. Because we had to raise our house up how many feet, and come to find out, our house was only part way in the flood zone.
And
I'll have you come to the podium if you don't mind, just because we got to have this
Yeah.
audio recorded.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about is if we get a survey beforehand and you're and it's like, we met what we needed, then you don't have to worry about those kind of things happening afterward. If we kind of cut the corner and we don't do the survey, you could be leaving yourself open to a myriad of what ifs.
we're gonna have to bring in some dirt anyways to bring it up to flatten it, our surface, because it has a little bit of elevation. So, I mean, we have to do that prep work anyways of the land,
Cut it down, flatten it, but
because this is gonna be almost a $200,000 building, and it shouldn't be. I mean, all this money we're putting in, we gotta go to the abstract and everything.
Doyle, I have a proposition maybe. I mean, I understand it. And like you said, you know, we don't want them to spend any more money than they have to.
Yep.
But I understand you wanting the surveyor for the peace of mind, but there's a possibility maybe we grant the variance, but we give them the disclaimer that it's a build at your own risk situation. And if they want to waive the right to a survey, we put that disclaimer in there and then it's on them. I mean, what would you think of that possibility?
Well, I think we need that without a doubt.
Rather than recommend a survey. I'm just looking at it either way. I know you were kind of saying, well, you might be money you had to do the survey. I know they're hesitant to do that because maybe time, money, something like that. Would you be willing to not require a survey if we put a disclaimer in that they will build this at their own risk?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I think potentially something like that could fit with the, like I said, the expectation that it does not go into the AE and the specifics that what the distance is that you decide whether you do the 20. So in conjunction with a disclaimer, I believe you've done those before. So that would be something that could be up for discussion.
Yes.
yes.
I mean, what do you guys think? Do you,
Well, the question I have, and I'm just thinking more simplistic, here. Do we have a tool in the county that, they come out and find the center of the road and then they provide a stake here for the residents so that, Morton Buildings can come out and do that, or
We don't have that service.
we don't have that service?
We do not do that, and it's really why they swear on the building permits to, you know, that they're presenting the facts of the case on how they use their property. That's the goal of a site plan and a building permit, that you are building it where you say you're building it, so.
So having said that, I'm hearing again, a surveyor. Is that right? To get what we need, to grant a building permit?
Depending on which route this goes, you could look at the expectation of what the distance is from the right-of-way line and the expectation that they don't go in the floodplain.
Okay.
Along with a disclaimer. So
Right.
I think we're at the three-legged stool right now.
Okay, so I'm just wanting this conversation generated for the benefit of Mr. Mez, the residents wanting to build a building. So I think it was mentioned earlier, we can grant the variance, but everything else would be on them.
so we could grant a variance of approval and give them the 20-foot from the right-of-way line. So that'd be kind of condition one. Next condition would be they must stay out of the, you know, so as long as the building is not built in the floodplain. And then part three would be the disclaimer that the building will be built at the owner's own risk from designated floodplain. Am I
Yeah.
close on that?
Mhm.
Okay. I think that's kind of the motion we're looking at, something like that. I mean, what do you think, Doyle? Do you agree with those three conditions?
Yeah, I have no problem giving the variance as far as we go ahead and do it. But I think if we're willing to give the variance, I mean, I don't think you're talking a lot of money for a surveyor. I mean, a lot of this has already been surveyed.
Well, then you have to go get pins and all that, because we had our house surveyed to build there, and we had to get a pin, and they go off that pin for all these variances. But if they go off a road, they say it's the middle of the road, and that's the
But if they've
that's the
already,
right of way.
if they've already done that, then the big part of your survey is already done.
But you just take the center of the road, and you don't need a surveyor.
Well,
That's your right of way. Sir.
I think we're We're being penny wise and dollar foolish.
Well, everything's a risk.
Yeah, no, that's.
I mean,
yes,
if we build in the flood zone, we have to get flood insurance. So I mean, so I'd get flood insurance if it's in a flood zone.
I mean, to me, I think if we're gonna give the variance, we need assurance, some actual assurance that it's not in the floodplain. That it's not in that blue area.
Oh, it's
And I
It's
don't know how
definitely not
you,
gonna be in the
It's-
blue areas.
not as far away that is.
Uh,
Our barn is in it barely, and it don't get filled with water ever. And not since I've lived.
yeah, I'm just. I mean. I don't think we're asking for a whole lot. If we're gonna have an actual plan. If we don't have a survey, we're still guessing.
I work for a utility company and the pipeline and the right of way is theirs. They own it. And the middle of the road is what we go off of. And then each feet on the side is the right of way. I mean, that's how you survey, I mean, a utility.
That's just my thought. I mean, I think a variance is definitely warranted. But I think to just when it's this close, I think you need the actual survey.
But if we put those three stipulations into the motion, then we've eliminated then it's on them.
And we are okay with that.
So
From the tree that's in the yellow to the blue,
where's that at?
the tree's right there. That big tree,
This
That
one?
right there, yeah.
to the blue, no, to the blue. That's-
Yeah. That's 28 feet,
Okay,
but
so I understand that this map may not be pins and needles, that's on. But hopefully it's not off by 20 feet, because we're gonna be building to the right of that tree.
All that space there on the other side.
That.
so
is floodplain. We're-
which way's the building going from here?
To the
Down?
right,
Okay,
that's 30 feet.
you're going 30 that way?
The building's 30 feet wide.
Okay, now which way am I going the other way? Down or down this way?
40,
Yep.
yes.
Well,
Not right, I mean, not,
we're
but
doing,
we're asking for 20 feet from,
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just,
okay,
just getting a general, because you get
Okay.
pretty close over here.
yep.
So now if you're doing the 20. So now you're kicking this over. Wow.
Dan, I've got to leave the meeting.
Okay, did everybody hear Pam?
Yes,
I did not hear.
Pam said she's gonna have to step out of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
so we could put 2 there.
Okay,
So,
bye.
so now. Again, you 40 some 50 feet, but it just, again, it's beacon, is what it is.
But we'd be further towards the barn. We'd be closer to the barn than,
You'd be up this way,
yeah, so there's even wider space there, yeah.
you'd be at least 10 feet off the barn,
Yes.
right? Barn center of the road. I think the right of way is 33, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. Anywhere in the yellow area is a safe area, but it has to be in the yellow area. And you gotta, and legitimately, it's a curvature on the setback too, so it would have to kind of follow the kind of the scope of the road, so the 20 feet back.
So it would be that same angle as the road.
Basically, yeah. So a site plan that demonstrates it not in the floodplain is essential.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm at least at the three-pronged stool, just for the commentary. At least.
And now your three-pronged approach, Mr. Priestley, that's,
Reducing the setback down to a distance you see fit, whether it's the 20, ensuring that it's not in the AE flood zone, and a disclaimer.
yep. So that's 20 feet from county right of way, out of the AE floodplain, and a disclaimer, if we chose to go down that route, saying that they will assume all risk, that the building will be, built at their own risk out of the designated AE floodplain.
And I guess having said that, does that constitute a building permit coming from the county?
That's you basically agreeing to grant the variance to empower that as part of the building permit. So if they present the building permit to me in that reasonable fashion, we just have to review it under the normal protocol, but if they show it that it's not in the floodplain, that goes quite a long way, because the burden falls on them to ensure that it's not.
So not necessarily does that require a actual survey.
They would need to build it where they say they're gonna build it, so
Okay.
that's what it kind of comes down to.
Okay. So, and not to ask the question again, but I'm just trying to get it straight in my mind. So in order to obtain a building permit from the county, what would the county require that they would accept as far as, okay, this is the pin, this is where we're gonna put it at?
Again, we're looking at the measurement from the lines, so you're basically authorizing zoning to approve the building permit that doesn't traditionally meet the setbacks. Traditionally, setbacks are the primary driver on, with a county without building codes. We're specifically to positioning on the lots. Everything else would revert to the state on any of the other regulations. So what constitutes the building permit is they're gonna put it where they say they're gonna put it, as with any structure from any landowner. The building permit has an affirmation or swearing that we're putting it where we say we're gonna put it relative to the known property line.
Well, part of the law is that they need to prove, that they have a burden of proof to prove that this is necessary. And until we really have a site plan, we haven't really proven that, have we?
Well, they did show in the packet there where they want to position it. So I would say they positioned it in the yellow zone that they
Okay.
knew of. So they brought to you a reasonable request to say, hey, we don't want to be in the floodplain with this.
Mhm.
And your zoning makes it so that your zoning puts us in a situation that's not as ideal. So I
That
would
makes
say,
sense.
I would say they met the threshold of presenting this application to you
Okay.
for that relief.
Yeah, then I'd agree to that.
So you would be okay with that then, Doyle, okay? So knowing that, then, what do you guys think about the 20-foot setback from the right of way? Are we're in agreement on that number? That's the number we give them to build within
Yeah.
20 feet of the right of way. They stay out of the AE floodplain. And we have a written disclaimer saying that the building will be built at the owner's own risk from the designated floodplain.
Yeah, that they stay out of the floodplain and they build at their own risk.
So that the building will be built at the owner's own risk out of the AE
And
floodplain.
so stay out of the AE floodplain.
Okay.
Yes.
So the building will be built at owner's own risk and must stay out of the
Because
AE
they're-
floodplain.
Yeah, because they're presenting it to us as not being in the floodplain.
Yep.
Do we have to address the buildings should be closer to the road than the house?
Yeah, that's part of
That's part of
going to this 20.
Okay.
So technically you're alleviating it because they have that in the request. So
Okay.
we would make note of that in the resolution with
Okay,
with the way that it's presented, because the applicants requested those two things, and you might want to just glance that in a motion as well, granting the variance, recognizing that the two sections that were put in there. So the good point, Tom.
Okay. So it needs to be stated in the motion that we are allowing this to be built
Yeah.
ahead of the principal structure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think we have what we need now. So I guess I would entertain if someone would be interested to make a motion that we, could grant this variance to allow the building to be built ahead of the principal structure, 20 feet from the right of way, out of the AE floodplain, with a disclaimer that the building will be built at the owner's own risk and must stay out of the AE floodplain. So I think that's the criteria we have to work with to make a motion.
Do we have to repeat that?
I don't think it's appropriate for the chair to make the motion though, is it, Mr. Priestley?
Typically chairs kind of defer, but if there's not, then you have the ability to.
Okay, I'll defer the motion in case somebody wants to make it. If not, and you guys are okay with me making it?
I would say, Chair, with all the information that you have written down, that you would be the one.
Okay, are you good with that, Mr. Priestley? Okay, I would make a motion that we approve the variance plural request to allow the building to be built ahead of the principal structure, which is the house, and within and up to 20 feet of the county right-of-way line, out of the AE floodplain, with the disclaimer that this building will be built at the owner's risk and must stay out of the AE floodplain.
I'll second that.
Okay, that motion has been seconded by Doyle. Do we have any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries 4-0.
4-0,
Because
okay.
Pam is not present at the
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We'll be in touch with you on the next steps. The next steps will be building permit.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Mr. Priestley. That was one of our longer ones, but good deliberation, so. Okay. I'm going to move down to our next public hearing item for another variance. The public hearing is now open on this. And Mr. Priestley, would you please read the staff report?
Yes, the public hearing is for the consideration of a variance application from Sean M. Benson and Shauna M. Benson for an accessory building machine shed to be built closer to the front lot line, right-of-way line with reduced front yard setback in front of the principal structure house. And this is the Agricultural Preservation Zoning District. It's on parcel number 894313300001. It's at 1248 Lenox Avenue, Pearson, Iowa, 51048. The Board of Adjustment holds this hearing under section 335 of Iowa Code. The application is on a property, it's 11.85 acres. The applicant seeks to build this building, machine shed measuring 40 feet by 80 feet by 28 feet total height, subject to possible adjustments during the review. They're asking for relief from section 4.12.3 of the ordinance, zoning ordinance, prohibiting accessory structures closer to the front lot line than the front edge of the principal dwelling or twice the required front yard setback, and requiring the 100-foot front yard setback in the AP zoning district. The proposal places the shed closer to the front lot line than the house and at a setback of 50 feet or less. The property constraints include the terrain, hills, elevation changes, a wooded grove, trees, septic, leach field, existing buildings, home, barn, lower shed, etc. This is in the Rutland Township, 8943, including the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter and the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter. And again, the applicant is Sean Benson and Shauna. Sean is with us tonight, and I would suggest having him speak to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Priestley. With that, is anyone here to speak on behalf of the variance? I'm assuming so. If you wish to address the board, you can come up to the microphone and just state your name and address.
Yes, my name's Sean Benson, 1248 Lennox, Pearson, Iowa, applicant owner. So the variance, if we can scroll down to about page 139.
I gotta find it.
That'll give you a better situational layout of what I'm looking at the property. So the house is on what is on the right-hand side of the screen. To the left is the proposed new building. So originally I was in an agricultural area, but the property was rezoned agricultural preserve. So that's to the south of that is where the old barn used to be. My wife is in a wheelchair. My grandmother is elderly and can't walk around the property that well. And so we have rolling hills. So we're proposing to build the new facility pretty much to the east of the house between what is Lennox Avenue that services us and the property. So it's more or less a straight shot almost over. So any other place on the property, you're within rolling hills and changing elevation, and it's not easy for them to do it. And then also upon the constraints, if you scroll down a few more pages down to almost the bottom, I think it's what it's not showing 150.
150, huh?
Yeah. So there you go. So the property is bound by a creek on the north and east side of the property and also on the south. So we're trying to stay away from those. We'd have the rolling hills. So, and my wife in a wheelchair can't get back up to the house, but we're also constrained by a grove of trees, existing machine shed, existing leach field, and there's some pasture area for animals. So we're just trying to keep it simple and more or less within what we need for the property to further suit our needs. There was one comment in the suggestions that the county engineer had a question on the driveway of what we were going to do. So the new loop driveway, if you scroll up down to where it shows all the proposed building, that 134 again.
Said,
Or 39, my bad, 39. There you go.
this one's kind of.
Either one, yeah. Oop, that doesn't show up on the whiteboard. So yeah, there'll be a loop driveway between, so the old barn that you see there on the lower left, that cement, there you go down up a little bit to the right. There you go. So that's the old barn that was built in 1890. There is an existing partial driveway that leads to the front of that coming from the east. So you see the existing driveway go up to the house. We're gonna go up to the house and then curve back around to the west and then back down around to that drive again.
Like right
Yes.
in there.
Yep, so that's gonna be the loop driveway that they had concern about. We're not changing any access to Lenox Avenue or any of those approaches or line of sight. So the only thing it's gonna be is a loop driveway within the property, so FedEx and UPS vehicles can more or less go out forward onto Lenox instead of backing out on the road that they currently do now, so.
And kind of again, you don't always know ideally what the setback is. And the way we noticed it, and Sean and I discussed it, is we use the 50 or less to, again, give the board flexibility as far as what is decided. So I know you ended up, it might even be 60, but you're
Yeah,
asking for
I initially asked for 60, but we changed it to 50.
yeah.
So if you look in the red box up top, that's the proposed building location. And that gives me 60 feet plus or minus about 15 to play with, but we took it down just to 50 to get us an even number. So. Yeah, the variance is for 50 feet. Yes,
From the right of way.
from the right of way,
Yeah.
yes.
You'll see where he has the 33 there and the end of the 60, but he ended up requesting the 50 or less. And again, for flexibility purposes, just as things can be adjusted or changed.
And there's part of me that says when the driveway's clear down here. These are from the driveway, it doesn't, I know it's closer to the road than that.
Yeah.
But really your driveway, to me, if you measure it from the driveway, you're a long ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
but-
the driveway, yeah.
Yeah, but the way that the ordinance reads, it's 50, because I thought 50 foot from the front, my front was south. No, it's between the house and whatever road services you
In the
have.
lot line, yeah.
And my house is set back 210 feet. But according to the ordinances, I can't build anything from what is the edge of my house and what is Lenox Avenue.
Yeah.
Looking at this picture, I'm probably looking at it wrong, but that's not, so the building is not directly in front of your house. That's a side of your house there. Is that right?
Depends if you look at the code or you look at how it's laid out on the property.
I didn't know if you were, I mean, are you putting this right in the front view of your house or?
My house actually faces south.
Okay.
So there's no road that services me to the south. The road that services me is to the west, which is Lenox Avenue. So technically that's the front lot line, the way that the code reads.
Sure, but it's not the front view of your house. in other
Exactly,
words.
yes.
Yeah, we oftentimes use that as a phrase in front, and we've had other variances too, where we've discussed what the front of the house is, but it's the front, what we construe as the front property line, and the ordinance makes it clear that you can't build anything between that front property line and the house. And also, so he's kind of in the same twofold setback situation that the previous one was under as well, as far as in front of and a reduced
Closer.
setback. So
The measurement, the square down below, what is that 50 by 120 measurement?
That's where my leach field's at. So I can't
Okay,
build
so that's the
anything
septic
down in that
area.
area. Yep, that 51 by 120.
yeah, and I'm just gonna go out to Beacon here real quick.
Right.
And when you come up the driveway, you're not really coming to the building before you're coming to the house.
We're gonna propose putting in a loop driveway between what is the house and the new building. So right about where Dan has the mouse arrow on that screen, there's gonna just be a loop within that property. So the new building will be there to the west of the house, which is to the left. But then we're gonna come in between the house and that tree and put a loop driveway around there, so it sort of connects in with where the front of that old barn used to be. Yeah, yes. not anything that's accessing off of Lennox. I'm just modifying my driveway that's on the
This-
property.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, to be clear, this is the entrance. He's not modifying. He's doing an on-premise private situation on his own private property, so. I just wanted to pull Beacon up just to show you the relative of the 50 feet. That's where the 50 feet point is that he's asking up to. I know the other diagram had 60 on and had it here, but just to kind of give you the visual. And again, the Board of Adjustment has authority within, we're trying to give you ranges if deemed any information's decided where. See, it's easier to notice for flexible distances versus a flat distance of, out of fear of resetting a process.
So that building will be where you've done the dirt work already, pretty much.
Well, it's gonna be roughly where that X is and the highlighted screen on page 139. It's gonna be real close to that, plus or minus 5 or 10 feet one way or the other.
Good. Thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions for him at this time? Okay, I think you can be seated then unless we have
Yep,
another
thank you.
question, so.
Still.
Yeah, public hearing is still open. Anyone on the phone, Mr. Priestley? Nope, okay. You guys believe we need some more answers or questions, or are we free to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay,
I'll
so
second that.
Bill's made a motion to close the public hearing. Larry has seconded that. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes 4-0. Public hearing is closed. I'll open it up now for discussion amongst ourselves. I think this is a pretty textbook type variance, you know. He's physically constrained with his topography, you know, that wasn't a creation of his own doing. The variance is not going to change the neighborhood's rural character. You know, I don't see any public safety risk here.
This is not gonna look out of place from the road.
No,
It's gonna fit in there perfect. The fact that the driveway comes from the south and everything points south, it's,
it's a natural fit for the way it's
Yeah.
laid out. So I guess we're contemplating granting a variance to allow an accessory building to be built in front of the principal residence and within or up to 50 feet from the right of way line.
is that a motion?
That was just a suggested discussion item for the rest of the directors. So if someone has a motion, I would entertain that unless there's any further discussion.
I'm ready to make that motion. I don't know that I can repeat it, but I can, in theory, that's where I was going.
So I'll try to rephrase your motion, Mr. Turner. You tell me if I get it right.
Okay,
So Mr. Turner has made a motion to grant the variance to allow this accessory building to be built in front of the principal structure and up to 50 feet from the right of way line.
yep. That's exactly what I
That
was
was your
thinking.
motion. Okay.
Yep.
Do we have a second on Mr. Turner's motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second by Tom. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries 4-0. So thank you. I'm sure you'll be in touch with Mr.
We'll
Priestley
be
here.
talking this week.
Okay, I believe we are done with action items, Mr. Priestley, so I will move down. Are there any public comments on matters not on the agenda? I don't believe we have any. So do we have a staff update?
Yes, I have an announcement that I'm really happy about. The Iowa Public Information Board has granted me approval to teach and grant the information training. I got approved through their board proceedings a few days ago. They haven't put me up on the website yet, or Woodbury County for that matter. So Woodbury County, technically, by way of the Planning and Zoning Office, by way of the instructor, we now have built-in training mechanism, and we'll be able to schedule it at some point and bounce it off of these meetings. But I'm very excited about it because I read a couple things where they said, well, the government can't train themselves. And I had built everything and I saw Lynn County out there and I thought, if Lynn County has it, I'm going to build it. So I built it. And then all of a sudden that language appears. And then I held back on it. I had this built during the holiday season. And so I submitted it and they contacted me and I said, well, do you have any problem with, us doing that as a locality? And all of a sudden, Lynn County and those places disappeared from the website. That's why I was a little bit worried. Then all of a sudden, then they reappeared. So they must do like a revalidation thing. But we ran it through the grinder and then we went back and forth and actually discussed content, which I was really impressed with, that they're really sticklers about the curriculum and what we need to know as far as how we host and handle these public hearings. And so, yes, they granted me permission. They said I could already advertise. I'm not on the website yet, but I'm clicking on it every day because I want it to say Woodbury County, Iowa, a provider up there. It's just, I just wanted to get our name up there. So anyway, we have the built-in mechanism and we do want to discuss logistics. I haven't presented it to the supervisors yet because I want it on that website so bad. So we're getting there and we'll get something set up. All of you are grandfathered in terms of being members of this board prior to the 1st of July, but we're going to need that mechanism if we ever have turnover, new people join the board. But I still think it'll be kind of good to have a trial run, or I'll have an opportunity to, at some point when we have a lighter evening, to have that training. And what I'd like to do is invite Sioux City and some of our area jurisdictions that may need that training, because our rate is nice, $0. And there's some places that might charge on that, and that's fine, and they're good providers and everything, absolutely. But I think it's important that we have some level of mechanism in there to meet state code and state requirements, and we'll make it fun when we have the training.
Some donuts and coffee, I would add as a suggestion, Mr. Priestley, so don't forget that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations on your certification then.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we appreciate that. And I'm sure it is a good, now the word is escape, good curriculum.
Yes, we've got slides.
Well, do you have anything else to add on the staff update then, other than just the announcement of the coming?
Nothing at this point. Continue watching the legislature.
Okay.
As
And
always.
Meeting next month?
Yeah, highly likely. There's
Okay.
always a good chance. Actually, we don't have any conditional uses in the hopper and no variances at this point, but we could end up with a variance, which would trigger a meeting. Typically 3 weeks out is when
Still time to sneak one in.
there's
buddy.
still time to maybe
Okay.
get one in. So
Okay.
always plan on it.
Okay, if that will wrap up the staff update then, is there any board member comment or inquiry? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Okay, Larry's made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Thomas seconded that. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you guys for sticking around for a longer meeting. A lot of business, but